Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I have a story that sounds like a movie, but I promise you it is 100% true. Think about your favorite soft drink. Maybe it's a cold, bubbly Pepsi. When you think of Pepsi, you think of snacks, music, and parties. But would you believe me if I told you that in 1989, Pepsi owned a navy? And not just a small navy. For a short time, the Pepsi-Cola Company had the sixth largest navy in the entire world. They owned 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer. How did a soda company end up with a fleet of warships? Why did they need submarines? Today, we are going to dive into one of the most secret and strange deals in history. It's a story about the Cold War, a thirsty nation, and a very unusual trade. Our story begins during the Cold War. The world was divided into two sides, the United States and the Soviet Union. They were rivals in everything politics, space, and sports. In 1959, the United States held an exhibition in Moscow. They wanted to show the Russian people what American life was like. The Vice President of the United States, Richard Nixon, was there. The leader of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, was also there. They had a famous argument called the kitchen debate. During this debate, the head of Pepsi International, Donald Kendall, did something very brave. He offered Khrushchev a cup of Pepsi. At first, the Russian leader was suspicious. He had never tasted anything like it. But he took a sip, and then another. He loved it. He even offered some to his colleagues. That one cup of soda changed everything. The Russian people soon discovered Pepsi, and they couldn't get enough of it. They wanted more. But there was a big problem. The Soviet currency, the ruble, was not accepted in the West. The Soviet government didn't have much American money to pay for the soda, so they had to find a different way to pay. They decided on a barter system, a trade. They traded Russian vodka for Pepsi. For every bottle of Pepsi sold in Russia, Pepsi got a bottle of Stolichnaya vodka to sell in America. This deal worked perfectly for years. Pepsi became the first Western product to be sold in the Soviet Union. Everyone was happy. Russians got their soda and Pepsi got their vodka. But by the late 1980s, the deal ran into trouble. The Soviet Union was struggling. People were drinking so much Pepsi that vodka was not enough to pay for it. Pepsi was becoming the most popular drink in the country. The Soviet government needed a new way to pay their bill. They looked at what they had plenty of, and they had a lot of military equipment. In 1989, they made a shocking offer to Pepsi. They said, "We will pay for our soda with warships." Pepsi agreed. They signed a deal for 17 old submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer. Suddenly, a soda company became a global naval power. The CEO of Pepsi joked to the president's national security advisor, "We are disarming the Soviet Union faster than you are." Why did Pepsi want warships? They didn't want to start a war, of course. They weren't going to use the submarines to deliver soda. Their plan was very simple. They wanted to sell the ships for scrap metal. Old warships are full of valuable steel and other materials. By selling the ships to a recycling company in Norway, Pepsi could turn the ships into cash. This cash was then used to pay for the Pepsi syrup sent to Russia. It was a very clever way to solve a money problem. However, for a few days before the ships were sent to the recycling yard, Pepsi officially owned a fleet. If you counted their ships, they were the sixth most powerful navy on Earth. This story was a huge secret for a while. The United States government was a bit worried. They weren't sure if they should be happy that Russia was selling its ships, or worried that a private company was buying them. But eventually, the ships were safely recycled. The Pepsi Navy disappeared as quickly as it arrived. But the story reminds us of a very interesting time in history. It shows how trade and business can bring rivals together. It shows that sometimes even the biggest problems can be solved with a bit of creativity. And it shows that a simple cup of soda can lead to a deal worth millions of dollars in warships. Today, Pepsi is still a global giant. But they don't own any more submarines. They focus on what they do best, making drinks and snacks. But historians and fans of strange facts will never forget the year of the Soda Navy. It is a reminder that the world is full of surprises. Sometimes the truth is even stranger than fiction. So, the next time you open a can of Pepsi, think about those 17 submarines. Think about the unusual trade that brought a taste of America to the heart of Russia. And remember that in the world of business, anything is possible. Thank you for listening to this incredible and secret history. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Navy that was paid for in soda. The world is full of hidden stories, and I can't wait to share more with you. Stay curious, keep learning, and remember there is always more than meets the eye. See you in the next episode.